So we're going to be talking about the buyer consultation today. What I want to do is I'm going to break down not only the buyer consultation, but I'm going to break down the entire process. This isn't quite so much the buyer consultation from a perspective 101, because I am going to go through a role play. So I want to be able to be in a position where I can share with you guys a little bit of that process. All right, everybody. So thank you guys for joining me. Again, we are talking about the home buyer consultation, what that looks like, what that consists of. And I want to make sure that everybody is on the exact same page. So now let's go into the buyer FAQ. Let me pause right there. If you notice, I just went in right into the buyer FAQ. I don't even go into any questions, anythings, all this other stuff, because I don't need an analytical client to sit there and say, okay, well, what about this? And what about that? And who's your home inspector? Let me look at their Google reviews first. Here's what it is. Move on. So now buyer FAQ. Okay, how will I tell you about the newest homes available? What I'm going to do, Lizette, is I'm going to go ahead and set you up on that search criteria here in about 5 minutes. I am curious though, are you currently using an app to identify homes?
Yeah, I mean, like Zillow and Realtor.com, like those ones for now.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask of you to do us one favor, okay? Because you have access to everything. What I want you to do is I want you to use the Realtor.com app, okay? And the reason I want you to use the Realtor.com app is because that's the information that's being pulled directly from the MLS. And you'll get that information. I've already tested it out. It's usually within about 2 minutes of accuracy. All the other sites that are out there, unfortunately, they're third-party apps and they're relying on the information that's being provided. So can I count on you to use the
Yeah.
Realtor.com app?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do I do that? Okay. Even though most of the leads that we're getting here on our team is Zillow, the reason I do that is because there's stuff on there we don't want them to see. You know, there's the for rent by owners, there's the for sale by owners. Well, now they've already pulled that, but there's other websites or other sites or other apps that have other solicitation type of information. Okay. And even realtor.com has that, but at least I've kind of narrowed it down to where I want them to be. Okay. Which is another standard, number 4. Moving back. So how will I inform you of homes from other real estate companies or only your properties? I'm not going to lie, Lizette. If I have a listing and it's a perfect fit for you, there's no better way than to work with a listing agent when you know the listing agent on the other side. And if that happens to be me, great. So if it is a listing that is fitting to with what you're wanting, I would love the opportunity. But as I mentioned, you're going to have access to everything. Now, can I help you find new construction homes? Now, I am curious though, have you considered a new construction home?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, cool. Have you seen any new construction homes of recent?
No, not yet.
Okay, here's what I want to do, because it is vital that if there is a new construction home, that I'm going to walk you into this new construction home. The reason for that is because these companies have sales reps, and these sales reps, their job is to represent the builder and that seller. And what you want to do is you want to be in a position where I don't lose you in representation. And I also want to be in a position where I'm representing you in the purchase. Of course, I want to be able to be in a position where I can go ahead and negotiate any and all, in a sense, appliances or anything from that direction with the builder. Okay, so can I count on you for being in a position if in case you want to go see a new build that I walk you through?
Yeah.
That is basically, I don't know if it's number 5 or number 6 standard. Okay. Because some of you won't do this. And what ends up happening? Yay, we got qualified for 600,000. Let's go take a look at those new builds that we see that is right across the street from our work, or those new builds that we've been looking at. And then they walk in, boom, that buyer's gone. So that's another standard. Back into the role play. Now, how does for sale by owners work? Okay. For sale by owners, if there is one, whether you see a sign or an open house, or basically just wanting more information, what I want to do, Lizette, is I want you to reach out to me. I want you to be in a position, I am your representative from today moving forward. So if there is something that you want to inquire on, even if it's a flyer, I want you to text me or reach out to me, because the last thing I want you to do is be in a position where it's a dog eat dog business. You walk into an open house, there are some agents that unfortunately they're not that ethical, and it might confuse the process if you walk into an open house even without me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to be there for you every step of the way. We're pretty much done. Now, what I want to do though is basically I sent you over with what is known as a BRBC. This is basically committing the two of us of working together. This is a 90-day commitment that allows me the opportunity to represent you exclusively. And then at the same point in time, you understand that we're going to be working together for the next 90 days. Is there any questions in regards to that?
Nope.
Okay, So let me get you to do me a favor. Go into your email, open that up, and I want you to go ahead and electronically sign that. Okay, so she goes through, she gets that signed. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the MLS and we're going to start to do some window shopping. I'm not going to share that screen, but we're going to go in there and we're going to start to do some window shopping. Now, the reason I do this is because I'm going to go through based on her criteria. It's going to tell me a couple of different things. She goes through 600,000 and she says, I want a 5 bedroom, 4 bath, 3,000 square foot home with a pool on an acre. Like, all right, well, I know this isn't going to work, but let me go into the MLS. Let me pull this up. Well, let's say there's no properties based on that range. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a needs versus wants list. And this needs versus wants list, you mentioned to me that 5 bedrooms is what you were wanting. What is it that you need? Well, I for sure need 3 bedrooms. Okay, so if we find you a 3 bedroom, would that be okay? Yeah, perfect. Okay, now you mentioned 4 bathrooms. Is that really with what you want, or is that what you need? Well, I mean, I guess I'd be okay with a two. So my job is to, in a sense, I'm obviously using sarcasm in this just to kind of paint that picture, is to dummy down with wherever I possibly can. So now I have a realistic 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,500 square feet. I would like to have a pool, but a pool size lot is okay. I'd prefer to be in this part of town. Okay, perfect. Let me go into the MLS. Boom, boom, boom. I look up and now there are 18, 19, 20 properties. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen now with her. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to now say, Lizette, what we're going to do is we're going to do some window shopping. And I want to be able to take a look what type of home you're looking for. So I'm going to go through and that very first property, I'm going to say, do you like this one? Mm-mm. Second one? Mm-mm. Third one? No, not really. 18th one? I'm not really feeling any of these. Am I dealing with a picky buyer or am I dealing with a realistic buyer? So this is telling me before I even open up the very first door with what I'm dealing with. Or the opposite. Did I go through the first one? Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love that house. The second one, ooh, that's cute. Third one, oh my gosh, that is like the perfect home. That would be so perfect for Zoe and I. Okay, cool, awesome. So what I'm trying to do by going through and doing a window shopped version of this is to identify the type of client that I'm going to be working with before I even open the very first door. And that's pretty much it. Okay. And that in a nutshell is the entire buyer's consultation, separate from, of course, showing the MLS and doing the window shopping. I'm going to now ask of her at the end of it, we identified 2 or 3 of these. Did you want to see those on Saturday's 9 o'clock appointment? Yeah, I'd like to if I could, but I also have these other properties. Okay. And now she sends me the other properties. Oh, yeah, those are, that's not Visalia. That's actually Exeter. Oh, okay, cool. Would you consider Exeter as well? My point is I'm gathering this information. Here's the fun part. Now the fun part is for some of our agents, we've talked about 2.5 or 3%. The goal is to capture 3%. You're going to call all of these potential showings for Saturday, call up all the agents. Marcella, hey, it's Robert. I was calling regarding your listing over on 123 Banana Street. Great home. Have you guys got any activity? You guys got any offers? What's the motivation? What's the reasoning? So on and so forth. Hey, by the way, what's the commission you and your clients are offering? Oh, 2%. Oh, that's cute. That's awesome. Would your client be open to 3%? They may with a fair offer. Okay, cool. Awesome. I go and call the next person. Annette, hey, it's Robert. I was calling you regarding 456 Cherry Street. Great property. Blah, blah, blah. Question. Are you guys open to, how much compensation you guys looking for? I get it. Okay. This is a little bit of that gray area, code of ethics. I get that. Don't call me out on that. I'm just simply trying to get you guys more money. Now, in this, I get our sellers committed to 2%. Okay. Well, would you guys be open to a 3% commission if we get you a full price offer or something near? No? Okay. So you guys aren't interested. Not even if I get you a full $600,000 offer. All right, cool. Well, hey, awesome. Well, I'll let you know if we're going to take a look at it. Thank you. Bye. What do? I put it in the back of the pile. Okay. Because in that, there's going to be plenty of inventory, especially in today's market. We're going to show them the homes that actually have sellers that are motivated and or open to. Now, when we go through, this isn't the negotiating time frame, but when we go through and submitting an offer, before the offer's written, I want you guys to be able to be in a position where you pick up the phone one more time. Hey, Marcella, I was giving you a call regarding your property. Our clients absolutely love this home. I know you guys are asking 600,000. You guys have been in the market now for about 38 days. Our client was thinking about writing an offer right around 545, 550. Is that something you guys would entertain? No? Okay, not a problem. I totally get with where you're coming from. Would you guys be open to maybe something around 560, 570? No? Okay. What are you guys looking at? What do you guys are looking for? You'd be open to 575, 580? Okay, cool. Let me talk to my client. Again, we haven't written it yet. I call my clients and I tell my client, hey, they may be open. Okay, they may be open to an offer less than, but there's no way we're going to be able to get it to that 550, 560 range. I think we might need to be right in that 580, 590. Would you be open to the idea? Yeah, I think we can do that. Perfect. Now we're going to write an offer for that 575 or 580. We submit it with the full 3%. Now Marcella brings back the counter offer and says, hey, 580, we're not going to pay 3%. We're only going to pay 2%. Anything else? Not a problem. So in that, I'm going to go back and talk to the seller, or sorry, the buyer, and I'm going to say, hey, would you guys be open to the idea? They sent us a counter offer back at 580, but they're not covering all of the costs. Would you be open to the idea of writing an offer at 585 so we can get all the costs covered? Yeah? Okay, cool. Now all parties are in agreement based on that. Okay. So any questions in regards to that part? All right. Now, as far as the buyer consultation is concerned, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. When you're going through the buyer consultation, I went a little bit faster than I usually would. Obviously, there was a version of role play, but I want to make sure as you're going through, you're setting standards throughout the entire process, which is the purpose of this buyer consultation. Because we are going to get people, we are going to get buyers that are going to be absolutely a pain in the neck. And they're going to sit there and they're going to run you ragged and you're going to show 10, 15, 20, 40 houses and they're still unrealistic. So I want to make sure that we are all in a position where you're going through page by page, item by item, setting the standards, making sure you're using this as a reference tool. When it comes time to, let's say, for example, you're 30 days later and you've shown them 40 properties and they still are writing lowball offers and you still don't have them in escrow, you might have to go back and do a second buyer consultation because there are going to be some clients, not too many, but let's be honest, we're all going to run into that one buyer that is a little bit stubborn. Anything you want to add, Lizette?
I think more like takeaways. I think for me, whenever we were going over this, number one was sending out the BRBC right at the consultation time, because I think after once we're already going through this through the MLS, so now at the end they're already excited. They're looking at homes. They're not thinking about the BRBC, and then you're probably not thinking about that either. So I think just making it a point or part of the routine of the buyer's consultation, sending out the BRBC, have it filled out, ready to go, and send it out before the consultation. That was like my takeaway moving forward. And then I also think I like the efficientness because you're right, like not all these buyers are going to work out. They're not going to work out for the next, trying to move within the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So really just trying to filter out which ones to give your time to, because that's how we're getting paid. So giving the proper people the time. If they do have plans to move faster, then that's the ones that we're prioritizing. So I like the efficiency about, connecting them to the lender first. And if they're motivated enough, then they'll move on with the process. But if they're not, then at least, you didn't spend 30, 40 minutes with a buyer's consult and them not to do anything. So,
and sometimes people will do the complete opposite. They'll do it the other way around. They get a client, go right into a buyer consultation. You then send them to the lender and the lender says, nope, can't do it. Now you invested all that time, energy, and effort. You're now heartbroken. You're annoyed. You're agitated because what you thought was a new buyer, unfortunately, doesn't even qualify. The other thing, too, is when you're in presentation mode, whether it's a buyer or seller, the end game is to get a signature. So, which is basically what Lizette is saying. We don't go to a listing presentation and this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to help you. Here's the comps. What prices you think we should use? And then say, okay, great. So we'll list it at 600,000. Okay, awesome. I'm going to go to the office and then I'll send you the contract later. No, we're right there. Sign the contract. We want to be in that position. So great observation. What are some other takeaways that you guys have or, questions for that matter?
I have two, Robert.
Go for it.
Okay, so the first is during the buyer consultation, and you're obviously going through the standards. One being, the time frame, the next 30 days. What if they're not open to the next 30 days, but they're like, well, I'm thinking about moving maybe, in like 2 or 3 months. How would you handle that objection?
Well, I'm going to get the answer to that question initially. You're talking about as far as them wanting to go see homes and submit offers?
Yeah, move, just the whole process.
Okay, ask me again because I think I lost something in that.
So if you ask them, hey, how soon are you thinking about moving? and they don't say 30 days, but they say maybe 60 days or in the next 90 days, like how would you approach that? How would that change the whole buyer consultation and basically, the whole plan?
Yeah, I wouldn't do a buyer consultation unless they're ready. So in that, the very first conversation that I have with Lizette, the very first 3 or 4 minutes, the question that I ask is if we were to, find you your home in the next 30 days, would that be a pro or a con? We might get well, it's kind of a con. And the reason for that is because I have to wait until next year. Oh, well, then we're not going to meet. There's no purpose of us meeting. Or sometimes we'll get some people will say, well, we have a lease and we're not, we have to wait until the lease is over and it's not over until the end of the year. Well, that's a condition. I might ask them, hey, are you in a position where you can break the lease? Is that an option? And sometimes they'll sit there and say, no, it's not an option. I'm committed to it until the end of the year. And if that's the case, anything from a conditional standpoint, I'll just push them out until I say, well, whenever you're ready, we'll go through the process then. Because the information today on August 20th could be different on November 20th.
Got it. Okay.
And then you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, the other one was during the buyer consultation, and you're obviously showing them the prices versus what it is that they're looking for. If they're being unrealistic, how would you handle that so that you feel like you're not really wasting any time with somebody that's living in, fairy tale land?
That's going to be the needs versus wants list. And I only use the needs versus wants list if they are unrealistic. You mentioned to me that you were wanting a 4-bedroom. Is that the absolute least you'd be wanting? Well, I guess we could get away with a 3-bedroom, but we have to have enough space so that I can have a setup for an office. Okay, cool. So like a little nook or an office corner, would that be okay? That'd be acceptable, or maybe even a loft. Would that be okay with you? So we're trying to be, in a sense, creative. But if they're not budging, they're looking for, obviously with where you're servicing at, if they're looking for a 5-bedroom, 4-bath under 500,000 in Rancho, well, that's not going to happen. Okay. So we have to get them to a realistic number. And in that, I'll even, going back to the example with Lizette, you give me some information. I already know I'm not going to find anything in the MLS, but you know what? Let me go ahead and look in there. I'm going to go into the MLS and I'm going to say, Lizette, there's nothing on the search criteria. Let's make some adjustments. What can we adjust? Bedrooms, 5 to a 4. Okay, cool. 4. Look, there's one property. I mean, I guess you just need one, right? Would this be an option for you? No? Okay. So there's 4 bathrooms. Can we change that to maybe a 2 or a 3? So to a 2. Cool. Awesome. Look, there we go. Now we have 11 options. Okay. What else can we adjust? So we're constantly doing that back and forth.
So what if even after all of that and they're still not budging?
I just move on. Yeah, if they're not realistic, I don't want to mess with them. I don't want to waste. For me, with buyers, I'd always felt like a waste of time for me.
Sure.
But in today's market, we have to be able to make some adjustments where necessary because buyers are gold right now, which is that one opportunity. So as long as you can get them within, 3, 4, 5 options in the MLS, at least there's inventory. But if you're working on what they want with no inventory, well, we can't go and build them a house. So at that point in time, I say, look, either we go up in price, get you a cosigner, or we look at something. I know you qualified, Lizette, for $1 million. Would you be open to going to 7, maybe 750? So I try to move all the needles where I can. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, price point, location. Would you be open to going 20 minutes west, east, north, south, anything that I can adjust? Any other questions or
I
observations?
think that does help at least put it a little bit more realistic, and then also puts you on their side. Like, I'm doing this is what you're asking for, and then you kind of go in there, you're sharing your screen, you're sharing the MLS, so everything's very transparent, it's open. They can see what properties are coming up, and then that way they're like, well, you're not showing me the properties. So it kind of aligns you with the client, and then now you're shopping together, kind of like that. And then I guess you're kind of like asking more clarifying or more, I don't know, you could say probably a little bit confrontational too, because you're like, well, what could, do you really need the 4 bedrooms, or do you really could you go into this direction? So really just like being able to talk with them and house shop. I mean, I think it's, it makes it a little bit more realistic for them because they see it, it's in front of them.
Right. Yeah. And I think that helps a lot because there has been, a few times where I'm telling them, hey, this is kind of what the market's at right now. And, right here in Rancho, as you know, it's not what they're asking for. Unfortunately, sometimes, like Robert was saying, they want a 5-bedroom, 3-bath for 500,000. And it's like, you're being completely unrealistic right now. Where can we kind of make some changes? And unfortunately, because you are being a little bit confrontational, it almost makes it seem as if you're not trying to be helpful.
A lot of that's going to be tone. Obviously, I'm talking to agents, but in that particular case, I'm going to soften my tone. I'm going to say, Annette, I really wish I could help you find this home with what you're looking for, but we have to make some adjustments. I think one of the things that we could probably adjust maybe the square footage. Would you be open to that idea? So it's about the tone. Yes, when I say the word confrontational, I'm referring to getting to the point, not in terms of you're dumb, I'm smart, what are you thinking? Because it's not out there. Okay, so it's tone in the manner that we speak to these people. It is going to be important. Other questions, observations, any other areas of concerns, any ahas? I liked what you did. I didn't like what you did there. I don't understand why you do it this way. Anything. I'll take anything from that perspective.
Hello.
Hey, Marcella.
I like the part about reaching out to the agents before showing the home and just kind of seeing what you have to work with, because that also gives the opportunity for them to let you know where they're at as far as if they have any offers. It opens up the line of communication and see what's available, the commission and what they're working with, if the sellers are motivated.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side of it, let's talk about on the listing side of things. This is our job. When we're representing sellers, we're not to push away business. When Lizette and I first became business partners, we're sitting there and calling around listings, and the market still was a little bit on the soft side, and call the agents, hey, just giving you a call in regards to this property, and so on and so forth. Commission, you guys open to it? Oh, absolutely not. No, we're paying 2%. That's what we're paying. Okay, so what if we got you a full price offer? You guys have been on the market now for about 40 days. No, the 2%, that's kind of with what the norm is now. So yeah, we're not paying anything more. So not even if we got you a full price offer. No, it's 2%. Yeah, that's what we're paying. Goodness gracious. Just tell me you don't want me to show your property. Tell me you don't want me to bring my buyer. What I'm saying is, on the listing side, you got to do everything in your power. Yeah, we'd be open to it. If you guys got a solid offer, present it. I'm going to do everything in my power to get your offer accepted. Do you feel like as if your client could come close to within the price range? Yeah, go show it. It's a great property. You really should consider it. I don't know, because I'm obviously not the seller, but I can tell you I'll fight for you. Go show it. Okay, let's see if we can put this thing together. So don't be the agent that is like, no, absolutely not, because that doesn't work for me. Okay, I will not show a property just simply because of the way that you respond. I'll tell you that. Other questions? Yeah, I'm serious.
You speak from actual experience. I can see that.
For sure.
That's a great point, because you're not helping to sell the home, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. And just shutting it down, give me an offer and go from there.
For sure. I think the one thing that I want the audience to take away from, and we're going to wrap this thing up here in just a few minutes, is setting the standards. Because we all know the old saying, again, I'm talking to agents, we know the notorious are liars, a large percentage. That's not the case with all of them, but we have to be careful. And the reason why this comes up is because, we have the initial meeting, everything is great, everything is peachy, everything is awesome. And all of a sudden you start to get into that second, that third showing, they start to get a little bit particular. We have to make sure we set the standards along the way, because if not, we're failing them as much as we're failing ourselves. Because in that, if I don't tell them about hey, no, we're not going to write an offer for $550,000, the property be on the market for a week. It's a waste of time. And I might appease the buyer sometimes just to prove my point. Okay, look, here's what we'll do. We'll write an offer. We'll do it for $550,000. Now, if we get it, awesome. However, it is very common in today, if we write an offer for that price, they may not even consider it. And then it goes through. Sure enough, get the response. Not even interested. Not serious. I take a snapshot of that conversation, because I do everything via text. Trust me, I've been plenty of times there. And I send it over to the client. I say, look, like I said, you just have to trust me in the process. We can keep going in this direction and trying to chase something, but this isn't that market. It's a normal market, but it is not an uberly aggressive, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, buyers can absolutely take advantage of this by $50,000 to $100,000. It's not that market, because there are properties that are getting multiple offers now if you price it well. So we have to do our job. So remember, what I'm getting at is I want you guys to be in a position where you're setting standards. Anything else in closing, Lizette, or anybody else have any questions?
Sorry.
Go for it.
In the chat, someone's asking it being possible to get a copy of the presentation.
Yes, absolutely. You just sign up for coaching and we'll get you everything. It's all part of the package. The answer to the question is send me a DM okay, via Instagram. I'll have my team make sure that we get a copy, a version out this for you. Here's what I'm going to encourage you guys to do. Don't copy and paste. Okay. Don't be that person. You have to be able to create some version of originality in this. Okay. What you want to take away from is basically the core of it. And the core of it is with what I talked about is those standards. Again, in closing, just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. And then Colleen, obviously we didn't get a chance to address the role play. So we'll address that at a later time. So you're off the hook today, Colleen. And thank you guys all for participating. Thank you guys all for being here. I truly am appreciative of you guys. Help me continue to grow the audience. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a powerful one. See you soon. Bye-bye.